Or like Angry Ryan.
Yes. You said it. Not me.
Why is Ryan Gosling perfect?
Let's do a drama. Ryan Gosling. Let's do a comedy. Ryan Gosling. Let's do a romance. Ryan Gosling. Let's do action.
He punched me one time in a scene. He's not like us.
The cinematic landscape of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is currently undergoing one of its biggest shifts in years, with two Canadian icons at the center of the storm. If you have been following the latest Hollywood whispers, you have probably heard the growing rumors that Ryan Reynolds, famously known as the Marvel Jesus, is pushing for a major crossover that could bring together two of the MCU's most unpredictable anti-heroes. The biggest rumor making waves right now is the possibility of Deadpool crossing paths with a newly announced Ghost Rider, reportedly set to be played by none other than Ryan Gosling. While Marvel Studios and neither actor has officially confirmed the project, online speculation has exploded, with some reports claiming that the idea may have moved beyond simple fan fantasy and into serious creative discussions behind the scenes at Disney. If true, a Deadpool and Ghost Rider team-up could become one of the most unexpected and potentially explosive collaborations in the MCU.
It was amazing working with Shawn. We're very excited to... Can we show you something?
The tension, however, is where this story becomes even more fascinating, especially after all the recent buzz surrounding the D23 events. Fans have already seen the viral moments of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman delivering their trademark stunts and fan service appearances while pushing for their inclusion in the highly anticipated Avengers: Doomsday. Their appearances have only fueled speculation about what Marvel might be planning behind the scenes, and with both stars continuing to generate enormous attention, every move they make is now being closely watched by fans eager to see how Deadpool and Wolverine could fit into the next major chapter of the MCU. Reportedly, Reynolds has been bringing that same Marvel Jesus energy into virtually every conversation surrounding the MCU's next phase. It is a strategy that has worked remarkably well for him, combining genuine enthusiasm for the franchise with the relentless meta-humor and promotional machine that has become synonymous with Deadpool. But this is where the situation allegedly gets complicated. According to the rumors, Ryan Gosling may not be particularly interested in seeing his standalone debut as the spirit of vengeance become overshadowed by Deadpool's chaotic presence. Gosling has reportedly been highly selective about his projects, taking years to find the right material and waiting for a role that would allow him to establish a completely distinct identity within the MCU. The idea of Deadpool suddenly crashing into that story, similar to the way Reynolds and Hugh Jackman dominated the conversation around D23 and Avengers: Doomsday, could understandably create concerns about the tone and focus of the project. It represents a classic Hollywood clash of creative philosophies: Gosling's reportedly controlled, character-driven approach on one side, and Reynolds' unpredictable, fourth-wall-breaking Deadpool persona on the other. Adding even more fuel to the speculation is Shawn Levy, the director behind the hugely successful Deadpool and Wolverine, who has also been linked to the upcoming Ghost Rider project. Given Levy's long-standing creative partnership with Reynolds, fans have naturally started connecting the dots and wondering whether he could become the bridge between these two very different Marvel worlds. If anyone could theoretically balance Deadpool's frantic comedy with Ghost Rider's darker supernatural mythology, Levy would certainly seem like a logical choice. Still, his involvement alone does not prove that a crossover is coming. Online theories have nevertheless exploded, with some fans interpreting the connection as evidence that Reynolds could be pushing for Deadpool to have a role in the project. And considering the way Reynolds and Jackman generated enormous attention around D23, speculation has only intensified that Reynolds may be using the same promotional influence to secure a place for Deadpool in Ghost Rider. From a branding perspective, the strategy would also make sense. Deadpool has increasingly been marketed as one of Marvel's biggest attention grabbers, with Reynolds famously embracing the Marvel Jesus label and positioning the character as part of the franchise's comeback. That has led to theories that Reynolds could want Deadpool to maintain a visible presence across major upcoming Marvel releases, whether that means Avengers, Doomsday, Ghost Rider, or another major MCU project. If that theory is accurate, the goal would be simple: keep Deadpool and Reynolds at the center of the Marvel conversation for as long as possible. For an actor who has spent more than a decade building a character that has become deeply associated with Marvel's modern tone, Reynolds' desire to keep Deadpool at the center of the conversation is easy to understand. But for a powerhouse performer like Ryan Gosling, stepping into an iconic role such as Ghost Rider only to have the character become a supporting piece in another hero's meta-narrative would reportedly be a very different proposition. That is exactly why the online debate has reached a fever pitch, with fans seemingly divided into two very different camps. On one side is the Team Chaos crowd, who desperately want to see the two Ryans share the screen regardless of potential plot complications or tonal clashes. Their argument is simple. Watching the dark and brooding spirit of vengeance attempt to tolerate Deadpool's non-stop jokes and fourth-wall-breaking commentary could produce one of the most entertaining sequences in comic book movie history. They point to Reynolds' D23 antics as evidence that he knows how to generate enormous fan momentum and turn a simple appearance into a major Marvel conversation. On the other side are the Team Cinema fans, who believe Ghost Rider deserves a serious, high-stakes, horror-inspired standalone story that can establish the character on his own terms rather than relying on Deadpool's humor to generate interest. They worry that a crossover could dilute the impact of what many already consider one of the most intriguing potential casting choices in recent Marvel history. According to the rumors, Marvel could ultimately find itself caught between these competing expectations. The studio knows that putting both Ryans on screen together would be an enormous marketing opportunity, but it also understands the creative risks involved. If Ghost Rider's supernatural horror and dark mythology are constantly interrupted by Deadpool's R-rated comedy, the project could quickly feel more like an extended comedy sketch than a meaningful introduction to the spirit of vengeance. At the same time, if Marvel manages to strike the right balance, the combination could become one of the franchise's most memorable experiments. It is important to emphasize, however, that none of these rumored tensions have been officially confirmed, and plans in Hollywood can change dramatically from one day to the next. What may appear to be a creative disagreement today could easily become a collaborative idea tomorrow. Gosling has built a reputation for being selective about the projects he takes on, and his recent career choices suggest that he is interested in roles where he can make a meaningful creative impact rather than simply becoming another piece of a massive franchise machine. Whether he would ultimately embrace a Deadpool crossover would likely depend on the script, the character development, and whether the filmmakers could demonstrate that the crossover would strengthen rather than distract from Ghost Rider's mythology. Reynolds may have won over millions of fans with his D23 antics, but convincing Gosling would be an entirely different challenge. And if the crossover ever does become reality, its potential impact would be enormous. Ghost Rider has long possessed the kind of visual and supernatural potential that could translate into a spectacular modern MCU production, from the flaming skull and hellish imagery to intense supernatural action. Combine that with Shawn Levy's experience handling massive action set pieces and the unpredictable energy of Deadpool, and Marvel would not simply be making another superhero movie. It could be creating a full-blown cinematic event unlike anything the franchise has attempted before. The internet potential of a Deadpool and Ghost Rider crossover is not simply exaggerated fan hype. Given the combined star power and cultural reach of Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling, it would be a calculated marketing opportunity. There is also the matter of the Marvel Jesus identity. If Deadpool is truly going to remain one of the MCU's central attention magnets, then keeping the character connected to the biggest projects on the horizon would make strategic sense. Ghost Rider could become one of the most anticipated supernatural entries in the post-multiverse saga era, so naturally fans are already imagining ways for Deadpool to enter that world. Some theories suggest a post-credit scene or even a brief cameo could establish the connection without allowing Deadpool to dominate the entire story. In fact, a 30-second interaction between the two Ryans could be enough to fuel fan theories, social media debates, and online discussions for months. For now, however, everything remains a waiting game. With the rumored Ghost Rider project still years away, Marvel would have plenty of time to determine exactly how, or whether, these characters should intersect. The bigger question is whether the studio would prioritize the enormous engagement potential of a major crossover or protect the creative vision of the filmmakers and keep Ghost Rider's story more focused. Historically, Marvel has often found ways to do both, which is why a compromise could ultimately be the most realistic possibility. Perhaps a brief, carefully placed appearance that establishes a connection without turning Ghost Rider into a Deadpool spin-off. Whatever happens, the fact that audiences are already debating this possibility says a lot about the modern MCU. We have moved far beyond the era of straightforward superhero origin stories. Today's audiences expect interconnected storylines, surprise cameos, post-credit teases, and the kind of meta-commentary that has become a defining part of Marvel's identity. But that also creates a major challenge for the studio. Marvel has to make sure its interconnected universe does not become so self-referential that individual stories lose their emotional weight, danger, and sense of consequence. As for the supposed tension between the two Ryans, it may be the most perfectly Hollywood rumor imaginable. You have two globally recognized Canadian stars, both known for playing unconventional anti-heroes, potentially existing inside the same cinematic universe. It sounds almost too perfect, which may be exactly why the speculation has spread so quickly. Fans are projecting their dream crossover onto the actors, while every new rumor or alleged report of creative friction adds another layer to the story. But when you step back, all of this speculation is accomplishing something extremely valuable for Marvel. It is keeping Ghost Rider in the cultural conversation long before the project even arrives. Whether Reynolds and Gosling ever share the screen or not, the anticipation is already generating headlines, discussions, theories, and enormous curiosity. From a marketing perspective, that is a significant victory. Even if the crossover never happens, simply connecting Ghost Rider to the world of Deadpool has helped place the project in the same conversation as one of Marvel's biggest recent successes. And if Marvel does decide to take the risk, the payoff could be enormous. The MCU has built its reputation on ambitious experiments, and while some have failed to connect with audiences, others have become massive cultural and box office successes. Putting Ryan Gosling's Ghost Rider and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool together would undoubtedly be one of the studio's biggest tonal balancing acts yet. It would be a high-wire act where the slightest miscalculation could create chaos, but if Marvel manages to land it perfectly, the result could become one of the franchise's most unforgettable moments. That kind of crossover would require almost flawless execution, because the tonal differences between Deadpool and Ghost Rider leave very little room for mistakes. Still, with Ryan Gosling's intensity, Ryan Reynolds' undeniable charisma, and Shawn Levy's experience handling large-scale action and comedy, it is difficult to dismiss the potential of such a collaboration. In reality, the truth behind the rumors is probably somewhere between the extreme versions being discussed online. There may be creative conversations happening, there may be different opinions about how the characters should interact, and there is certainly an obvious business incentive to bring two enormous stars together. As the potential 2028 release window gets closer, fans can expect even more speculation, alleged leaks, and theories about what Marvel might ultimately decide. For now, all anyone can really do is watch, debate, and wait for the studio to officially reveal its plans. But if Marvel actually manages to bring the two Ryans together in a way that feels natural rather than forced, the moment could become one of the defining highlights of this era of the MCU. The excitement surrounding the possibility is already enormous, the stakes are incredibly high, and the potential cultural impact is difficult to ignore. In many ways, this entire situation represents how much the superhero genre has evolved. Marvel is no longer simply selling individual movies. It is building interconnected entertainment events where the personalities of the actors, the characters they play, social media conversations, fan theories, and marketing campaigns can become part of the experience itself. Whether you love the idea of Deadpool meeting Ghost Rider or fear that the crossover could turn into an overstuffed mess, one thing is difficult to deny. The curiosity alone is powerful enough to make audiences want to see what happens. And perhaps that is the real objective. Keep fans guessing, keep them debating, keep the theories circulating, and ultimately keep them watching. The D23 appearances, the social media banter, the Marvel Jesus branding, and the endless speculation are all feeding the same machine. Whether Gosling would ultimately embrace the crossover remains one of the biggest unanswered questions, but in Hollywood, Sometimes the conversation surrounding a project becomes almost as powerful as the project itself. And right now, the conversation surrounding the two Ryans is louder than ever.